Hi, my name is Labib Malik. I'm going to be the host and MC for the evening. Just short background about me. I'm a magician and a mind reader. Yes, that's normal response I get from people, especially when it's 8 in the morning. So before we're going to start, I'm just going to show you some couple of things. What's your name? Brita. Would you like to join me on stage? Can everyone give her a big round of applause? I just forgot to mention, the reason we are doing in English is because we have some clients and we're going to film this and to show it to international clients. Hello, Brita. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Good? Brita, do you believe in magic?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Amazing. Here's the thing. I've been traveling all over the world and showing and making sure that people believe in magic. Are you ready to see the real magic? Here's the thing. I'm going to pour some water for you. Take the cup and put it on your head right away. And some water for me. Here's the thing, Brita. Do you have a magical word? Anything. You decide.
Magical word. Magic?
Magic? Okay, perfect. It would work. But see what I'm going to do first. Then you're going to copy me in a second, right? In a second, you're going to close your eyes. Not yet. And then you're going to go just slowly turn around once and open your eyes. Okay, Brita? Close your eyes and go. Yeah. Close your eyes and go. Perfect. Lift up the cup. Do you feel it's heavy? It's water inside? Yeah, perfect. Ready to believe in magic now?
Yes.
Okay, do as I do. Thank you very much. Take a seat. Before I came here today, I've written a number on this paper here. Inside there, I have something written as well, but it's a number between 10 and 99. So I can start with you, sir. What's your name? Nima. Nima. Just say any random number between 10 and 99.
18.
83?
18.
18. Why 18? Random? Nothing personal to it? Okay, perfect. What about you, sir? Any number?
57.
57. Fine. And what about you? 40. Okay, perfect. And what about you, sir?
37.
37. Why 37?
My age?
Oh, your age. Okay, perfect. And what about you?
15.
15. Interesting. See, I think you all missed today. So someday I hope someone will go for 39. Yeah. But was anyone close to 39? 37. Who said 37? You said? What's your name again? Martin. Can everyone give Martin a big round of applause? Martin, I need you up here. Take the envelope. If you can come closer to the mic. Inside there is something. You can open that. Right? It's my business card. Yeah. So you can call me and book me for show. Perfect. That's the first trick. Behind my business card, I have something written on. Can you please loudly in the speaker or in the mic read out loud?
This will be chosen by a gentleman with round specs and cool mustache, and
Wait
he will be off.
You have a round specs and cool mustache. That's good. And
he will be off by 2.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take it. So for the first presentation of today, as told, I will be coming back after each presentation and showing you some couple of tricks so you're not going to sleep away. So here's the thing. For first presentation, was expecting Director General Svein Ørstavik, but he is I think late in the train. So for stand-in, we have Jon Ørstavik. Oh, I missed some names, yes. But it's your turn, right? Jon Ørstavik. And it was Svein is not coming. Okay, perfect. Sorry for the mistake. Please, stage is yours.
Good morning. Can you hear me? I'm going to have to use a computer now because 20 minutes ago we had an emergency in Oslo. I spend a lot of time working with emergencies, so when the Director General was not able to get here in time, they asked me, can you improvise something? And he sent me some of his introduction, so I'm going to have to look at that a little bit. Because for these next 10 minutes, I'm going to be promoted as Director General in the city of Oslo. And I suppose I should mostly be saying the things that the Director General would say, and not my own opinions. Oslo City is building a large new emergency facility, and we are moving into it in 2023. In that connection, we need not only a new EHR system, but we need a new internal organization. And perhaps most of all, we need a new and better external organization and communication. Because there are a lot of partners, I'm going to show you later today, a lot of partners are trying to work together to ensure the health of the inhabitants in Oslo. When we are planning this, we need to do two things. We need to secure the development of the building, and we need to secure the development of the EHR systems at the same time. We are doing this with two partners, and the Director General would particularly like to welcome the city of Bergen that we are working with and we are going to hear from today, and also the Directorate of e-Health, with whom we are having a close and very nice collaboration, trying to figure out how we can all find a common path towards a better future and not trip on each other's legs and toes on the way, but find a solution that can slowly bring us to a different place in the next decade. Oslo and Bergen, we have cooperation in a lot of areas and we have a lot of similar challenges, but we also have in this aspect, we have different services going into this new EHR system that we both have to get in a very short time. So our thoughts have been that if we can find a system that can solve the problems in Oslo and the problems in Bergen together, that would be a wonderful platform to solve a lot of health problems in Norway. So when we are here and we have invited you and guests from abroad watching us on the internet, it is our hope that together we can get enough information forward to choose the right path together. And I believe that is pretty much the message that the Director General wants to send to us today. He has sent a few other words, but I will not try to interpret them. But I will come back later to elaborate on the Oslo needs. Thank you very much for coming.
Do you guys want to see more magic? Perfect. We have amazing presenters here tonight in the evening. So we're going to present a lot of fun things to you guys. So here's the thing. Do someone read books here? I hope probably everyone. What's your name? Halvor. Take the book. This is the English book. Open the book on. Just open the book to see it's a normal, ordinary book. Yeah, it's normal. Perfect. Here's the thing. Open the book on any page you like. If you're not happy, you can change, right? Here's the thing. On the page, from the top, middle, or on the bottom, wherever you want, however, just find a long word, more than 6-7 letters. Go for more than 7 letters. Give me a challenge. You have a long word? Okay, perfect. So I can take the book back. So could you join me on stage? Perfect. Give him a big round of applause, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Can I ask you, what do you work with?
I'm working in Director of eHealth.
I can give you the mic here. Sorry?
I'm working in the Directorate of eHealth.
Health. Okay, perfect. Here's the thing. Do you believe in mind reading?
No.
Oh. So
But
you're
I
real.
believe you're quite skilled.
Well, let's try. Let's try. I had a challenge remembering his name, so I'm gonna try to read your mind. So that's gonna be a challenge. So give me, take your right hand and put it on my shoulder here for a second, and I want you to concentrate on the first letter in that word. Okay. Close your eyes for a second. Not sure why, but this is the first letter I'm getting. So tell me, is the first letter in your word start with the S?
That's true.
That's the... Okay, perfect. Just keep going. Put your hand on my shoulder again. Focus on second letter. Go to the last letter in that word. Is that a T?
That's correct.
Okay, I think. Just keep your hand. Keep your hand on my shoulder because I have to have the connection with you. Are you on the R now?
No, on the second letter.
Oh, second letter. Go to the fifth letter. Is that R?
That's correct.
Can everyone see what I've written here? Okay, Halvard, for the first time, come closer to Mike and tell everyone the letter you chose was
Supermarket.
exactly like this. Thank you very much. Take your seat back. So I'll try this again. I'm going to invite from Bergen, Brita Øygård and Johan Østravik.
My English is so bad, badder than Peter Solberg. So I'm going to take this in Norwegian, and I'm allowed to do that. Jeg heter da Brita Øygård, og jeg er etatsdirektør, etat for helsetjenester i Bergen kommune. Så jeg vil fortelle litt om de utfordringene, eller vil fortelle om hvordan våre tjenester er, og de tjenester som da er aktuelle for dette journalsystemet som vi snakker om. Vi har altså flere tjenester som bruker journalsystem, og hvor det er altså leger da som arbeider. Vi har øverst her til venstre for dere legevaktsentralen, Medical Communication Center. De har sykepleiere som sitter og tar imot da både vanlige legevakttelefoner og også da nødtelefoner. De gjør da notater i journalen og har altså da behov for et journalsystem. De har cirka 120 000 henvendelser i året. De som jobber der, sykepleierne som jobber der, de roterer til også legevaktstasjon, legevakten, hvor de altså har hver sine tørner. Vi har en gradert kompetanseskala for sykepleierne, sånn at vi har, det er bare de mest høyest utdannet vi har som får lov å sitte i legevaktsentralen. For det er en ganske viktig oppgave å svare rett der. Legevaktsentralen er lokalisert på Bergen helsehus, som ligger på Danmarksplass, og er altså da på samme sted som Bergen legevakt, som er da der oppe til høyre. Bergen legevakt har inntil nylig vært et samarbeid mellom Helse Bergen og Bergen kommune, hvor vi driftet både skadepoliklinikk og allmenn legevakt. Vi har nylig splittet opp sånn at Helse Bergen drifter sine egne tjenester, og vi drifter da allmenn legevakten. Men vi samlokaliserte. Vi har også både leger og sykepleiere som roterer mellom skadepoliklinikk og allmenn legevakt. Det en ganske komplisert modell, og disse personellene må da være i stand til både å benytte journalsystemet på Helse Bergen siden, som DIPS, og det journalsystemet som vi bruker. Så det viktig for oss å ha den doble kompetansen. Det gir oss en stor robusthet. Bergen legevakt har også ansvar for å drifte voldtektsmottaket for Helse Bergen. Vi oppretter også nå en utrykningsfunksjon. Vi har vært litt sent ute der, men nå kommer den også i gang, og den legen som rykker ut med sjåfør og egen bil skal også ha tilgang til journalsystem. Det rundt 100 000 konsultasjoner på Bergen legevakt. Så har vi også District Emergency Centers, altså legevaktstasjoner som vi kaller det, 3 steder i Bergen. Det i Åsane i nord, og så det i Loddefjord i vest, og så det på Nesttun i sør. De legevaktstasjonene åpent på ettermiddagen fra 4 til 22, og den betjenes i all hovedsak av fastlegene i den bydelen eller det byområdet. Det har også åpent i helgene, og det 27 300 konsultasjoner var det i fjor, eller i 2016. Det bruker også det samme journalsystemet som koblet opp mot hovedjournalsystemet på legevakten. Og det ganske viktig, fordi legevaktsentralen får telefonene inn, og en del av henvendelsene skal jo da betjenes ute på legevaktstasjonene. På Bergen helsehus har vi også Municipal Emergency Unit, som altså det vi kaller for ØHD, øyeblikkelig hjelp tjenester. Det det samme som i Oslo heter CAD. Der det 34 senger med øyeblikkelig hjelp-pasienter som ligger fra 1 til 3 dager, noen ganger litt lenger, til observasjon og behandling. Det da ligger altså i Bergen helsehus og organisert i samme enhet som Bergen legevakt, og det tett samarbeid. I økende grad så blir det også noe utveksling av ansatte mellom de to enhetene. Per nå så det en annen installasjon av journalsystem på ØHD enn det på legevakten. Det veldig utfordrende, sånn ønsker vi ikke å ha det. Så vi ønsker altså å ha det samme systemet på ØHD. ØHD litt annerledes, for mens legevakten da har konsultasjoner og folk går igjen, så ligger de altså over tid og skal ha behandling og registreringer og medikamenter som skal gis regelmessig. Så det en sykehusavdeling. Vi hadde i 2017 2500 pasienter. Vi har også en tjeneste som i forhold til flyktninger, Refugee Health Care, som vi kaller for Senter for migrasjonshelse, som driver konsultasjonsvirksomhet, og de samlokalisert også på helsehuset, og sammen med smittevernkontoret. Begge de to tjenestene bruker også journalsystemet, og i forhold til flyktningene så det da helseundersøkelser og oppfølging den første tiden etter at de bosettes. Fengselshelsetjenesten, Prison Health Care, vi har 2 store fengsler i Bergen som ligger i Åsane. De har en blanding, kan du si, av konsultasjoner og at folk inneliggende. De i hvert fall innsatt, og de der over tid. Og en god del av de ganske syke. Det ikke en frisk befolkning som befinner seg der. Så de trenger medisiner til dels flere ganger om dagen. Sånn sett det å tenke som om de lå på sykehus og trenger fast oppfølging. Sånn at i forhold til en journalsystem så må det være noe som håndterer, noen som da skal ha faste medisiner, og det skal kvitteres ut at de har fått. Så det er en spesiell utfordring. Det er omtrent 1200 nye pasienter hvert år. Alle innsatte får jo legeundersøkelse, og noen får lengre oppfølging. Men det er stor turnover, det er en god del korttidssoninger også, sånn at det er inn og ut, og behov for både epikriser, og de blir også henvist til spesialisthelsetjeneste mens de ligger inne, eller sitter inne. Siste tjenesten som bruker journalsystemet er bedriftshelsetjenesten, Corporate Health Service, som ligger i en annen byrådsavdeling som ikke ligger under meg, men som også har da, er omfattet av denne nye eventuelle anskaffelsen som vi skal gjøre. Og de har da behov knyttet til bedriftshelsetjenesten, som er en mer sånn helsesjekk, hvor de altså trenger å registrere litt sånn standardiserte parametre, men også ha mulighetene til å drive mer vanlig legevirksomhet, hvis de skal skrive en resept. Det kan forekomme. Så det var vel egentlig en gjennomgang av det. Er det noen som vil spørre om noe? Jeg har for så vidt vært inne på det, men disse her forskjellige tjenestene har altså forskjellige måter å jobbe på, som må også da avspeile seg i journalsystemet. Sånn at de her praksisene som er mer konsultasjonspraksiser, har en helt andre behov enn disse mer innleggende. Og som jeg nevnte, så er fengselshelsetjenesten en slags mellomting. Vi har noen karakteristikker, altså på legevakten så trenger man jo å ta imot penger. I fengselet tar vi ikke betalt for tjenestene, så de er ikke så interessert i den økonomiske delen. Så er det, og i fengselet skriver de jo i liten grad ut resepter, men det gjøres ved løslatelse. Likevel må de ha stålkontroll på medikamentene, og det er ikke alltid at de som er innsatt sier det akkurat riktig det de står på. De kan prøve å skrøne på seg noe. Så det er veldig viktig for fengselshelsetjenesten å ha tilgang til pasientens legemiddelliste. Flyktningene, de har jo ingen helsehistorie, vi vet ingenting om de, sånn at der må vi bygge opp alt fra bånd av, og det er veldig viktig å få en god oversikt, for de er ikke alltid i stand til å forklare seg på en sånn måte at nestemann forstår, sånn at det må være skriftlig og synlig og oversiktlig for de neste, og når flyktninghelsetjenesten er ferdig med de, så skal de over til fastlegene, som må få oversiktlig alt vi har funnet. Ja, jeg tror jeg egentlig har belyst sånn noenlunde. Så har vi jo en rekke tjenester som vi samarbeider med. Det er ganske mange. Og vi er selvfølgelig avhengig av en god elektronisk samhandling, mer og mer. Både det at man kan slå opp i noe, altså kjernejournal eller andre typer legemidler som du kan slå opp i, eller at du kan sende og motta meldinger. Begge deler er veldig viktig. Vi har kommunale aktører. Vi har for eksempel ganske mye kommunikasjon med fastlegene, for det vi holder på med i kommunen, det skal fastlegene følge opp nesten alltid. Så vi må få sende ut melding til fastleg som er helt korrekt, og som kan komme umiddelbart, og som inneholder det skal. Vi har sykehusene, tannhelsetjenesten, helsestasjon, skolehelsetjeneste, hjemmesykepleien, og det er jo mange også private og andre organisasjoner som er inne i bildet. Så er det apoteker, dere ser jo lista der, Jeg har lyst til å si litt også om disse nasjonale, fordi at vi I større og større grad også skal levere inn statistikk til nasjonale registre. Og når vi nå skal anskaffe et nytt system, så det fordi at vi har sett at det systemet vi har nå, det har noen veldig store sårbarheter. Det et system som ikke har vært vedlikeholdt, og som sliter med å ta inn de nye nasjonale føringene som kommer, spesielt fra Helsedirektoratet. Altså vi klarer ikke å få det til å funke skikkelig I forhold til E-resept, og det en veldig viktig del av det. Så har vi også flere ulike installasjoner som gjør det vanskelig for oss å håndtere. Det veldig, vi har en del avvik, vi har en del meldinger om at personellet bruker uforholdsmessig mye tid for å sikre at dette trygt. Altså, vi har mye dobbeltsjekking, papirer, lister og så videre for å være sikker på at vi får det med. Spesielt på disse plassene som deler ut medisiner. Så har vi noen bugs også, at det følger med at epikrisene tar med seg ting som ikke skal være med. Det har leverandøren stort sett rettet opp, men vi sliter med det. Og når vi nå da vil bytte ut, så vil vi bytte ut sånn at vi har den samme installasjonen I utgangspunktet samme som kan ivareta alle disse tjenestene. Det også veldig viktig for oss å ha god support. Vi tenker også at en innbygger en journal, den for langt fremme for oss til at vi kan vente på den. Så vi trenger en løsning for våre utfordringer nå. En løsning som kan som gjør det likevel legger til rette for at når en innbygger en journal kommer, så vi noenlunde rigget. Bare det å samle alt på en installasjon I stedet for 3 som vi har, vil jo hjelpe. Så vi trenger altså noe til å ha en trygg og forsvarlig journalsystem I ventetiden. Og hvor lang den ventetiden blir, det noen andre som må si noe om. Yes. Det noen spørsmål til Bergen? For ellers overlater jeg ordet til Oslo. Nei. Takk.
Very good. So, welcome back to Oslo. Here I am back in my more clinical role. Last week, the emergency services in Oslo treated something around 3,000 patients. We had some heart infarctions. We had a lot of people with not very advanced infections. We had some serious mental disease, and we had a lot of visits from the police. We probably had 250 ambulances, 300 ambulances, maybe 350 ambulances coming in with a few patients that were unconscious. And we delivered 1 child in week 24. The city of Oslo is growing, and it seems to turn into something like a big international city. This city has 650,000 plus inhabitants at the moment, and a lot of them are moving in, so many that we are having trouble giving them the facilities that they need. And this causes a lot of work, and also so we have to be a very large amount of people working in different places to handle it. We have something around 550 general practitioners here that we cooperate with, and then we have this emergency service that I have highlighted in red. Those of you who are interested, of course, will get these slides afterwards. The city has care services at home in 15 different districts. We have something like 49 nursing homes, and we have a lot of different social and addiction services, and these services are mostly not integrated today. which causes us a lot of problems. And we have 4 general hospitals, depending on how you count, maybe 5 or 6 if you count the locations, or 72, I think they say sometimes. But in an EHR perspective, they're mostly 4. And of course, there are certain private services emerging as well. They are not integrated EHR-wise or otherwise in our services at the moment. So what we're seeing is a very increasing complexity. And we are having trouble coping with it. And what we really need all the time is information and sharing of information. We have certain very particular drivers as well that makes it important for us to make a change now. We have, like Bergen also have been describing, a lot of new tasks coming in. We are running hospitals in the city of Oslo now. At Aker, we have, well, altogether we have more than 100 beds that we are going to move into our new EHR system with patients and we are using EHR systems today that are made for basically for general practice. There's been a lot of really nice development, but we need to get to a new level to handle these new kinds of services. We also have a bit of privacy issues that are very, very difficult to close, and particularly, of course, with the new GDPR regulations and these things. This is going to be very high up on our in our thoughts when we look at the different systems that are coming in. So these are challenges. And then there's one element that's a challenge, but also a wonderful opportunity, that we have just been granted a few billion Norwegian kroners to build a new facility. And that gives us a new momentum and a new possibility to make some changes. Because as I said, when we move in, we need to be a different organization within, and we also need to develop a network outwards. So for the timeline in Oslo, we are to a large extent tied to the development of the building. We are planning to move in 2023, and for our EHR system then, we need to put that in place to have it stable. Before we move, we would like to put it in place about 1 year ahead of moving in. So that means by 2022, we should be up and running, 2021, 22. And by that time, we have to figure out what is possible to achieve, what are we going to do right away, and what are we going to have to see as a development in the coming decade. So we are starting to realize that maybe we don't have so much time, at least we don't have enough time to wait for a stately solution that can engulf everything that the municipalities in Oslo have to handle. So that's why we are trying to invite you now to figure out what are the possibilities. So basically we have 2 goals. We have a short-term goal and we have a long-term goal. The short-term goal is to close the issues that we are having at the moment and to get something up and running for mostly the emergency services. One really important thing for us is that we are going to need a system that we can tweak and adjust along the way. A lot of the old systems have to go through a very extensive and time-consuming process to make new changes. And that is difficult for us. We have seen some systems that are more flexible, give more opportunities to the users to add new departments, new functionalities, try things out. Because the large steps are so difficult to take. We need to get into some kind of momentum where we can change one thing at a time in another kind of collaboration than we have been able to establish so far. And what we are hoping is that after this conference and the next year of competition, we are going to have a new core that's fit for expansion and development. So the long-term goal is that in 2021, we are starting to use what can be the core of a new ecosystem. And along the way, we are going to have to find out to what extent are we going to include all kinds of services in the system, and to what extent are we going to have to connect to different systems. A lot can be done through a good connection system, of course, and we have some fairly large ambitions, but we are also trying to see if we can find a way to divide the different, to not totally integrate everything so that we are dependent on very, very complex processes for every little change. Therefore, an ecosystem instead of the one golden EHR that is going to solve everything with one delivery firm. We expect that will be too complicated in the future. And if we succeed, maybe this can be the first one step into a platform that can be a core also of a new national system, if we are lucky. And that's why we are trying so hard to coordinate our efforts with Bergen and the Directorate and other partners to see if this can bring us one step forward together. So, these are the services we are talking about in Oslo. And they are very similar to the services that we've just heard about from Bergen in many ways. This is the core that we are working with at the moment. We have the emergency service, of course, with 2 facilities. We have the emergency beds that are similar, but in a larger extent. And in addition to the acute beds in Oslo, we also have a rehabilitation unit that we want to bring in that also would have slightly different needs. We have emergency social services, because in this city now there are so many people without really a connection to any of the districts, people coming through, people falling down from all kinds of crises nationally and internationally, and all the migrants and that kind of problems. So we have a social service system 24 hours in our facility. And we have, of course, the sexual assault center. And I should mention, because you touched on economics, there are different financing models, of course, and some of these services are actually financed through the NPR system of, that the hospital uses. So we have to generate bills and stuff, both for the primary healthcare systems and for the hospital systems, in order to get enough money to have some people on call all the time. So this is the core and the services, and we are very closely connected to the hospitals, particularly Oslo University Hospital. They have as much services in our new building facility as the city does. They use, of course, their own computer systems, but there's going to be a lot of connections, both through the National Health Net, of course, but also within the building-related services, because we are going to have to handle a lot of stuff together in the building. Equipment, telephone, patient signals, positioning units we would like to develop so that we can find our things and our people and connect to each other, because there's a very close interaction around, in fact, a lot of the patients and, of course, a lot of the staff. So there are some innovation elements. This we have not worked as much with as we have with the core itself. But with the core, we are actually working with specifications, but we are not going to show anybody any specifications before after this dialogue, because then we have to go in to do some strategic choices on what are we going to go for in this phase. But I would like to mention a couple more elements. In the to be included column here, we see a lot of other municipal services that we are not well connected to at the moment. Of course, there's a possibility to send some messages, but what we are seeing is, of course, that the demand is increasing enormously. And after the samhandlingsreformen, what is it called? The corroboration reform, something like that. There are so many more transactions between all the different actors all the time that this is really getting to be a tremendous problem for us. And what we're seeing with all of these 100 beds now is that we need the same kind of functionality to communicate with everybody in the city that the hospitals have. And it's been fairly well developed through the years for the hospitals, but we are lagging behind. And in our discussion, we are going to have to talk about, should some of these services be included at some point in our new EHR, or should we rely on connectability and communication between different systems? We don't really know yet, but when we are moving into a competition, this is what it's firstly all about. And there's one more element I would like to mention before I stop, and that is the patient services element, because that has not been very well described in what we sent out to you in advance. But of course, we are, as well as many others, starting to realize that we need to engage the patients as partners if we are going to be able to bring the right information forward. So the summary journal, kjernejournal, and the e-prescriptions, of course, are state solutions. But we are going to need to develop something that's more particular for our services, like appointment services, like self-registration services, and information services. So as I said, the innovation part of this has not been as thoroughly worked through. But these are some of the things that we are discussing. This is not a complete list in any way, but the patient as a user of the system, we believe that is going to be really important. And with the support of, for example, AI and new systems of sorting, maybe we can get into a system where the patients not only pay and talk to us, but maybe also register data, maybe register symptoms, and in sometimes maybe they even get some medical advice without so much involvement of our personnel. And I also wanted to mention the top point, which is about data gathering. Because in this ecosystem and in our emergency system, we see it very clearly now. We have a trouble with resources in many different places and patients in many different places. But it's very difficult to see what do we need where now, in 3 hours, and tomorrow. We need some live aggregation of data to make it possible for us to put together the right crews and the resources and do the management of what's going on at the moment. And of course, some systems have that abroad, but we haven't seen a lot of it in Norway yet. So these are the kinds of thoughts that we have, but we need to start with the core. And that's it from me. I don't know if we are to take any questions now or later. Later. Wonderful. Thank you.
Hi again. More magic? You sure? Okay, let's try something. I think we need to lift up the energy in the room. So everyone, if you can clap once. Perfect. Just hold your hand like this. Just move over your hand so thumbs points downwards. Take your right hand over to the left side and hold like this. Everyone, perfect. I see you struggling there. Just keep going. Okay, here's the thing. If you're not letting me deceive you, everyone should be able to do this with me now. Exactly. So I think we have some good energy in the room. What's your name? You, sir. I'm pointing at you, sir. You what? Would you join me on stage, please? Perfect. Give him a big round of applause. Hi, Johan.
Hi.
Come closer to the mic. Can I ask you where do you work?
I work at Home Medical Systems.
Okay, perfect. See, I've heard that the future is digital. Is that true or something? Just what's your comment on the future is digital?
I can't say no, can I?
You can. It's your choice. It's your
Oh,
life.
Well, it's at least part digital.
Part digital,
Yeah.
right? See, here's the thing. I love to travel. Do you travel? A lot?
Yeah.
Perfect. Here's the thing. I've written all the cities I've been to.
Okay.
So you're gonna be the witness or the eyes for all of the audience. So just please, in the mic, read out the name here, which is written here.
Cape Town, London, Mumbai, Berlin, Prague, Hong Kong, Toronto, Miami.
So it's all different. I think it's
Yeah.
around 50 cities. Here's the thing. Put out your left hand.
Okay.
I'm going to place the pad here. So here's the thing. I'm going to step away from you. So don't flick through. Just open to one page and see one city and close the book pad again. You have one? Perfect. I can take the pad. So you have one city in mind, right?
Yeah.
Have you been to the city?
No.
No. Would you like to go to the city?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you be impressive if I could read your mind?
Yes.
Closer to mic. Yeah. But
Yes, I would.
let's say that would be impressive. But what if I predicted today, 8 in the morning, when I came here today? How would that be for you? Would you be impressive?
If you what?
I took a video of me and I
Yeah.
uploaded it.
Oh, yeah, that would be.
That's digital, right?
That's,
So that's the future. That's the cloud.
Well, it's something. Yeah.
So here's the thing. I'm gonna give you the. Take the pad and pen.
Okay.
So I want you to write the city you saw or you have in your head. Done? I can take the. So you have written the city, right?
Yep.
So would you like to play the video? That's me in my morning face, just so you know, so it's pretty tight. Hello everyone, time is 8 in the morning. I'm just getting ready for a show in a couple of hours. So here's the thing, today's gentleman, he's gonna think of one city, and that is gonna be New York. So please tell everyone, is New York correct or wrong? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please take a seat. Thank you very much. They say the future is digital, and in that sense, would like to invite Director of eHealth, Are Muri. Thank you very much.
I think it's the first time I'm asked to present after a magician, so that's sort of setting expectations. Hopefully something magic will happen if I click this. Okay. So, first of all, thank you to Oslo and Bergen for inviting the directorate to attend this. Not only this meeting, hopefully, but also the procurement process. Oslo and Bergen have been two of nearly 50 municipalities that have participated in the national work. They have given tremendous insight in terms of needs and requirements that they need to meet for the future. And we have an agreement with Oslo and Bergen that we will continue this partnership in the continued national work. Obviously, we are aware that the national recommendations, etc., I will come back to that, are in a decision process. And this decision can take some time. It can end up in decisions that we don't necessarily like today. But we need to execute on those decisions when they come. So participating in the Oslo and Bergen procurement process is in any way important for us in solving the issues that we have been heard about today so far. So I think basically the room is full of industry vendors. As such, this is the congregation for digital and e-health, so I will not spend too much time on why this is very important. I think most of you also know the high-level national objectives. Speaking to patients and citizens, I think most of them believe that we are close to accomplishing these objectives. If we tell them we're not, they think that this should be done in a fairly short amount of time. Unfortunately, I think the audience is aware of and acknowledge that the way we govern IT, the way we procure IT, and the way we operate IT and technology means that reaching these objectives is a tremendous work, basically. But we still have them. We want to keep them because they are stretch objectives for many initiatives that we run on a national level and on an enterprise level, both in primary care and in specialist care. I think the two introductions from Bergen and Oslo have been excellent today in terms of telling about the needs, the requirements, and the increased complexities of the municipalities. One or two items that we would like to follow particularly is the clinical needs that are much more advanced now than they were a few years back, and they will continue to be more advanced in the future. Secondly, we need to create better interoperability in the municipalities and between the primary care and specialist care. When we talk to patients, obviously, and we talk to patients that are chronic patients, they are obviously they prioritize needs concerning their access to information, their access to journal, their opportunity to participate in the dialogue process between clinicians and themselves. But when we really sort of push them on what is most important, it is the fact that the clinicians that will treat them, that will meet them, actually have the required information to do that in a professional manner. That's the most important. And also that the clinicians obviously have the knowledge to execute the treatment. So I think many will say that this procurement is a contradiction to the national recommendation, because the national recommendation is that we would like to move away from isolated information islands in the municipalities, including the GP practices, and we want to improve the interoperability to the specialist care services. I think these objectives are also shared with Oslo and Bergen, and just starting with the emergency care units, etc., is important for us. And I think we've heard today in the two presentations that requirements concerning interoperability between the different health functions in the municipalities and interoperability or collaboration with the specialist care are important functional and technical requirements in this procurement. So as such, we think that this procurement will give us better insight into understanding what the vendor industry actually can provide of solutions. And if the vendor industry can solve the requirements of this procurement, it sort of increases the probability that we can solve the larger scope in the municipalities. As such, this procurement is very important to us. We want to move towards this picture. And as I've told many of you in other meetings, we have not decided the solution architecture. We don't know whether this is one EHR system from one vendor or if it comprises different solutions from different vendors. That's up to the industry to recommend. But we really would like a solution illustrated here where the different municipal health functions actually can collaborate and where we can create better collaboration, much better collaboration with the specialist care. So we have 3 large, we call them strategic initiatives, with regard to the objective of making sure that health personnel have relevant information. One you are aware of in Midt-Norge, where the procurement process of Helseplattformen is currently ongoing. Hopefully they will make decisions in the next few weeks and months, and hopefully we will have a contract signature first quarter of 2019. We use that procurement process, the documentations and the experience from that to in our other national and enterprise projects. Secondly, we look towards the 3 other specialist care regions of North, West and Southeast to make sure that when they now do their system upgrades of the EHR core DIPS arena, they make it in a more coordinated manner. That's very important for us to make sure that the interoperability between them and towards the municipalities and the GPs can be better in the future. They have or will now deliver their common plan, a shared plan. They tell us that they will pilot DIPS Arena, most components of it, in 2019, and we look forward to an even more concrete plan moving towards 2020 and further on. The timelines, unfortunately, are quite long, but I think we need to acknowledge that based on where we come from and the sheer complexity of what we're attacking, and obviously the health industry itself. So we don't see this as a contradiction to our national recommendation. We are pragmatic and practical. We don't see that we are in a position to stop the enterprises of fulfilling their needs. Oslo and Bergen have challenges and needs that they need to meet. So we would like to continue the collaboration, as I've already said. We have already given the project input in terms of functional requirements and various models. We would like to share every documentation and all the knowledge we have, and we would like the procurement documentation to be something we can build on in future procurement processes. For our process on a national level, we are now in what's called a third-party quality assurance process. And this third party will deliver its report just before Christmas. December 21 is the promise. Based on that report and our recommendation, the government will run their decision process. Hopefully we will not go too far into 2019 before that recommendation is ready. In the meantime, we continue the work. And that work also includes Oslo and Bergen. So we try to do, several things at the same time in parallel. If the national recommendation goes forward, we can build on Oslo and Bergen. If not, we still want the ambitions we have for our patients and for our health personnel to be solved in this procurement and in the ambitions of the wider procurement. So me and my colleague will be available afterwards to ask or respond to any questions. But are there any, overall questions? I'm happy to respond to them. Okay, thank you.
Amazing. That's the digital future, and question is, how does the future looks like? So the future is in now for a couple of hours ago, and now our future is in a couple of hours again. So for a second, I know you guys are from healthcare and IT industry, and I know you don't believe in what I do actually. So let's, just for a second, imagine if someone could predict a future. How would it look like? So I have couple of questions for you guys. So let's create a future together today. Let's travel to a destination. Can I ask you, what's your name, sir? Sorry? Richard. Okay, let's say whatever year in the next couple of years. 2020. Okay. And if I ask someone, what's your name? So, Torstein? Okay. In 2020, which city would you like to travel to? Berlin. Okay. That's an interesting future. Let's go over here. In 2020, when you're traveling to Berlin, how much pocket or how much money do you have in your pocket? $1,500 US. Is it correct? So in 2020, we're going to travel to Berlin with $1,500 in our pocket. Interesting. That's an interesting future. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to place this here for till next session, and I'll come back and we'll see if there is a future, or someone could maybe predict a future. So I would like to invite Halvor Skede from Committee Bureau for the next presentation.
Thank you. We have done a study with the Oslo Kommune, Oslo Universitetssykehus. So this is a study here in Oslo, but I'm quite sure that we have many of the similarities that can transfer to Bergen. But this is mainly focusing on the emergency ward here in Oslo as the situation today, and then a small glimpse into the future, how this could be, having a patient-centered emergency ward. I'm going to talk a bit about the background for the project, patient needs, and some scenarios. And of course, having a patient-centered emergency ward starts with the patients. We have done mainly qualitative studies, some quantitative as well, but this is listening to them, observing them, understanding what are their actual needs when they get into the situation of going to the emergency ward. Just last week, it was 3,000 patients. So in that sense, just last week, we had 3,000 different stories. We have 3,000 different perspectives and needs that needs to go and be facilitated in one emergency ward. So, but in spite of this variety of needs that the patients have, there are still some common needs that we can answer to. Our goal was to identify and describe appropriate patient flows. This is from an overall perspective, and also within the different departments and between the departments. As we've seen from the slides earlier on, and I will get deeper into that later on, how is the interaction between the departments, and how is also the interaction with the general practitioners, with the healthcare in general. But we have mainly looked at, of course, the emergency ward, but everything that happens before, during, and after. We've done this through observations, as I mentioned, both our company, but also together with all the different staff in different departments. So we've done observations, interviews, and also some probes that the patients could then map out their expectations and their experience throughout their patient journey when they come to the emergency ward. And we've done some one-to-one simulations in cardboard, where we have tested out these different hypotheses that we have on testing the patient needs and testing how we as a service and as a building can actually answer to these needs. First one, autonomous. I guess I could more or less use the same presentation as Are showed actually, because we have many of the same issues that we will highlight here. Autonomous. The patients, they want to do things right. They want to contribute in their own patient journey. So it's much about how we can help them help themselves, or how we can help them help us as early as possible. We have learned that they want to be self-reliant and do things right. When they enter the emergency ward, it's quite easy to sort of just follow all the others. If you see a queue standing, you will quite immediately jump into that same queue, even though that's not the right place for you. But you want to do things right when you get there. So how can we actually help them do things right when they come to emergency ward? And it's a brand new situation, luckily for most of us, coming to the emergency ward. So how can we empower them to actually do the right decisions as early as possible? And of course, this doesn't entail that all the patients can do this. But if we're able to facilitate that process for 80%, 70% of our patients, then we can use a lot of our time on the rest 20 or 30. So it's not to say that the only touch point that you have with the emergency ward is now digital. But how can we utilize that tool to actually help us help the rest of the patients? And then for the service, this is a sort of a small summary to give us some questions for further development of the emergency ward. How can we let people register and evaluate themselves? I know this also can be quite controversial, that we do self-assessment, but for some of us, this could absolutely work. So it's not given that this is for all of us, but for those who can and are willing to do it. And also give patients information relevant to their situation before they actually come to the emergency ward. If we're able to prepare as early as possible, then that will of course benefit the organization and the emergency ward as well. So as a summary of how the service can answer to this is pretty much about how can we empower the patients as early as possible for their patient journey. Future patient journey is pretty much predictable. And how can we create that predictable journey? If you're injured, you have more or less no idea what you're stepping into. And of course, you have a lot of questions and you wonder, okay, what's the next step? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to sit here and wait? Okay, how long? You see medical staff passing by and you wait so long, and then it's important to make that situation as predictable as possible, to give the patients a sense of control so you know what will happen in the next steps throughout your patient journey. And what we have learned throughout our study is that patients don't understand the system and logics behind the system. And the patients, they experience uncertainty and lack of control because they are not the ones on top of the situation and they don't understand the system. They have no idea of what's going on the back end of the emergency ward. They see everything up front on the front stage. So they're sitting in the waiting room. They can be sitting there more or less alone, waiting for many, many hours, thinking that, okay, are they drinking coffee and chatting on the back office there? But it's actually a lot of things going on the backside. But they don't necessarily know what is going on the backside. Hence, they have no understanding of the system, and it's not necessarily given that they need to understand all the bits and pieces of the emergency ward either, but enough to give them that sense of control and predictability, and also understanding why you have to wait extra. So, how can the service give you at least a general understanding of the journey you're going through? And some clear expectations. And also, of course, we have to answer to these expectations. But then again, if we are able to sort of facilitate those expectations as early as possible, that can give us some leverage throughout the process or throughout the patient journey as well. And hopefully some predictable timeframes and an understanding of why this could actually change. So even though you don't have that acute patient need. Others that come can have a much more acute need, and you need also a certain understanding of why you then have to wait extra. We must give patients safety. These are, of course, quite interconnected, these different areas of patient needs. And safety is a given need when you come to emergency ward. But it's as much about treatment as it is with safety. Understanding that someone is on top of their game and are taking care of you. That you are in control, or they are in control quite quickly. So you feel that level of safety when you come to the emergency ward. And it's also about this mental clarification, that because you can be in a quite sort of stressed situation, you can be afraid, you have an arm dangling on the right side, and then your sort of mental state when you get into that situation. To just have someone that can look you in the eyes telling you that we are on top of the situation can be enough. And then you can sit there and wait for a couple of minutes, but you know that you are taken care of, and someone has visuals on you, and then the further journey can feel much more easy. So how can the service let patients experience safeguarding and high competence as early as possible? When is that moment that we can start giving patients that safeguarding, that we are in control and we see you and we hear your and can answer to your needs? And one of many needs, of course, it's private. We all, as individuals, have our proximity zones. As we are sitting here, as we're standing on the bus, as we're talking with colleagues. And this doesn't necessarily change when we get into the emergency ward. And especially when we're talking about our health issues. So you need that level and taking care of the individual's privacy when we get to the emergency ward. We've done observations, as I mentioned earlier, and patients, they are quite pragmatic when they get to the emergency ward. They see that I need help, I need treatment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm willing or want to share my health information with medical staff while you have a total stranger sitting right next to you. And it's not necessarily given that you want to hear his or her story either. But of course they are pragmatic, but this doesn't mean that they want to be in that situation. And also it makes it difficult to do valid or good assessments of the patients, because it's not necessarily given that you want to tell the full story at the first people, staff that you meet, but it can take a couple of rounds before you actually tell the full story of why you're at the emergency ward. So then again, it comes down to how can we create that privacy or private zone setting where you can actually enable the staff to do a valid and good assessment. So how can the service reduce relocation of patients? I know this comes very much into the building as well, but it's still a part of the service, how we organize and how we meet the patients. And prevent patients from having to deal with too many people and retell the story. This is also very important to address, that in many medical assessments, it's important to retell your story a couple of times, because the story can change throughout the process, and maybe at the third, fourth person you meet, you will tell what is actually going on. But how early can we create that and that zone that enables you to actually address your core needs. And it's holistic. This has also been addressed earlier here today, that we must collaborate across departments and units. This is also sort of a quite given need that the patients have. Because we as patients, we come to the emergency ward to get something or medical treatment. And we don't necessarily care who does what and the sort of the organization, internal organization of the emergency ward. It's two different, you have Oslo Universitetssykehus and Oslo Kommune, and the patients sometimes they can be a sort of a fraction between these two departments. You as a patient, if you are at one side of the emergency ward and then you are out walking and go to the other side, they have no idea who you are. So the whole sort of fragmented service that the patients can experience is both from an organizational perspective and also from systems perspective, and then it comes down to the individuals, that they are the ones sort of all of these systems end up pushing around. So what have we learned? Which department who does what is less important? And patient journeys, of course, they can quickly become quite complex. And if we fail to collaborate across subjects and units, patients get a fragmented offer. And it's not necessarily just within the emergency ward when we're talking about a holistic treatment plan here. Because a patient journey, it starts before, it's during, while you're at the emergency ward, and it's after. So how can we collaborate with general practitioners? And more or less everything that Jon showed in his slide is future services that we can connect to much, much more. And especially for patients who has a much broader need than just the emergency ward. So how we can actually collaborate with all the key players outside of the emergency ward as well. Emergency ward is, of course, for the acute situations, but there's a huge potential for a lot of patients to actually collaborate much more before and after. And we know that some patients, for instance, within drug problems, they come back every week. So you have people coming back to more or less, they step in the door every Monday. You have people coming there. How can we then empower them and empower the system and collaborate much better with other health services so they don't necessarily end up at the emergency ward again? So how can the service make sure the patient's experience the help as uniform and coherent throughout the whole journey, and help patient get in touch with the department and staff that is right for them, and prevent them from having to relate to internal organization. Within service design, we usually talk about a front end and the back end. So it's a bit like me on the stage here, sort of what is going on the backside is not necessarily relevant for us here now. And of course, this is quite difficult at the emergency ward. But then again, we can still address sort of, okay, what do the patient need to relate to? What do they don't need to relate to? So when you have trash being pulled through the waiting area, that's not necessarily what you want to sit there and experience. We developed 16 different personas. As an estimate, we are talking 350,000 patients when the emergency ward is up and running, the new emergency ward is up and running. Of course, we can't make 350,000 personas to actually address all the different needs, but 16 was a number that we saw that, okay, if we're able to answer to this perspective of needs, we are quite sure that we are answering to quite many of the patients. I will show you a small sort of glimpse into a possible scenario based on these 5 user needs that we have identified. So this is Øyvind, Bana, Mette, and Rolf. And Øyvind's journey, he's found on the street, heavily intoxicated. An ambulance is called. He's confused, threatening, and possibly psychotic. And, well, he's quite messy and very difficult to assess. His journey, hopefully, or this is scenarios, so it's not necessarily given that this is the solution in itself. But with the tools that we have, well, digital tools as one example, this could be a future journey. Early planning, as soon as we come to Øyvind, we have started medical treatment on him. We can start to plan the journey that will happen when he gets to the emergency ward. We can talk with his well, medical staff. We have a seamless information flow because we have everything on the spot. And we can start preparing at the emergency ward because we have all his medical data already available. He will come to the emergency ward and go more or less directly to his treatment room, where all the staff that is needed is located. And we have more or less everything in one room. Not necessarily within that room, because if it's psychotic and threatening, that should be right next door or close by. And coming back to holistic as well, involving key players in Øyvind's life as early as possible throughout this journey. Hopefully, so we don't end up having Øyvind back here next Monday. And also then help him to help himself to get in contact with key medical or health services that can help him further on. And we have a common platform for cooperation, just as we've seen on the previous presentations as well. And we have Rolf. Luckily, he doesn't end up at the emergency just by being 61 years old. But he has chest pains, and he dismisses this as a hardcore workouts, but his wife is quite worried that this could be something more. They can start to plan quite early. So they contact the emergency ward. They figure out, okay, what do we need to do? What's the different steps? As I talked about earlier as well, sort of how early can we give you some predictability and plan. So they are in contact with the emergency ward. They have a scheduled patient journey. That means that, okay, you will meet up at 1500s, and then there's a time slot based on our assessment and information on this point in time. And they register before they get to the emergency ward. They can also have open up a tracking beacon on their cell phone, so the emergency ward has a location on them if something should happen. He's already registered, so all he needs to do is say that I'm here with a number that he's been given. The treatment journey is, of course, it's prepared, so everything is set up when he arrives, and he is routed directly to medical treatment and observation room. He has a single room, and a room of possibilities, as it sets a bit symbolic. But we're able to give him a lot of information when he's in that room. Of course, he has his journal. He can see his well, patient journey so far and what's the next sort of schedule for him. He is able to, well, get in contact with the right medical staff. And all this can be done in the room, of course, and also since he has his own room, statistics show that he should be able to get healthier quicker. I know this is controversial to stand here and talk about single rooms as well, but there is still a huge possibility when we're talking about privacy, autonomy, and also having a holistic treatment plan for Rolf within this room. This was a very, very quick glimpse of patient needs and some of these scenarios. You'll find more information about this. I see that this presentation doesn't look like it's doing on my slides here. But you will find more information here on the different patient needs and also more of the scenarios and more about the backdrop for the whole project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I have something amazing to show you guys now. I'm just gonna clean the table for a second. Remove the water too. Perfect. What's your, since you have a computer, what's your name? Hanne, would you like to join me on stage, please? Give Hanne a big round of applause, everyone. Hi, Hanne. Come on my right side, please. I'm gonna place the mic for you here, so it's easy for you to talk into mic. I hope like this. Okay, Hanne, I have a blindfold with me. Where do you work?
I work in a company called Lucas.
Okay, what do Lucas do?
IT solutions.
IT solutions. This is gonna be amazing for you. So yeah, just take the blindfold on yourself. Yep. Just if you can see through, try it from both sides first. You can't see? No? Perfect. It's a normal blindfold. So just take it off. Yeah, perfect. I just to prove it's a normal blindfold. So I'm gonna wear the blindfold in a second. I have here 4 cups and 4 plates. This one plate, it's a bit unique. It has a spike on it. Can you just confirm it's a real spike? You can try and see if you can take it off. Or it's a magnetic or a... No? Nothing?
It's a spike.
It's a spike. Is it sharp?
Yeah.
So it's a dangerous thing,
Yeah.
right? Perfect. Here's the thing. Since we all grown up, so it's everyone's decisions what's going to happen here, right? So please don't call 911 or ambulance here. Here's the thing. You're going to place the cups on the plates, and you're going to mix them. So you're going to have the control where the spike is at any time, right?
Yep.
Okay? So I'm going to put the blindfold on myself, and I'm going to stand here. So please, Hanne, do put all the cups and then shuffle them, mix them up.
Okay.
But you know where the spike is, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's all I need to know. So you have shuffled them, right? So here, come over here. Take the blindfold. And I don't want you to know where the spike is, so just take it on yourself and just stand over like this. So everyone's gonna hold eye with me, so I'm not gonna cheat and see where the spike is now. Okay, Hanne, you can take it off.
Yeah.
For a second, come over on my right side again. Let's assume for a second, if I might cheated and lifted up the cups and saw where the spike is. So you're gonna mix it one more time. But it's deadly important that you don't lift up the cup and see where the spike is. I don't want you to know either. I don't know, you don't know, no one should know, right? Can we have a music, please? So please, Anna, take one more time. Yeah, sure. Shuffle them. Just don't lift up the spike, cup. Okay, done? Where are you? Give me your hand. Are you right-handed or left-handed? Right-handed or left-handed? Give me your right hand. So put your right hand on the left cup, right cup. Okay. Do you think spike is under here? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. slowly lift up the cup, hand, and go to the next cup. Do you think Spike is in the hair? Yes or no? Go to the, I'm trusting you on that. Just go to the last cup. You think Spike is in the hair? Yes or no? You, both hands please. Both hands. Put place on the both cups here. I'm trusting you on this, Hanne. You have to use your intuition. Left or right? Left or right? Just make right here. Okay, lift up your hand slowly. Remember, you took all the decisions, right? I can't be blamed on that. Hold your hand like flat as possible. Give a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Take a seat back. Yes. Okay, here's the thing. Before I'm going to present the next presenter, this is one thing I just want to make you aware of. Before we took the break, I had this something here. That might be the future. As you saw, I was with you guys in the lobby and wasn't here. So this no one has touched it, and we're going to see later it's behind that thing. So I just want to invite Bjørn Eriksen from Oslo Commune for a next talk. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm going to give you an overview of the environment that's relevant for an EHR system. The challenge to you here is really how do we best utilize that platform I'm going to present to deliver the best possible services. It says Oslo, City of Oslo here, but this also applies in general to Bergen. We'll start off easy. With the basics, we have a set of data centers providing basic services like virtualization, storage, backup, etc. These data centers are also divided into different security levels. Depending on the system that is implemented, it's placed in various security levels with different security features, depending on what kind of data is processed, etc., and its sensitivity. The users connect to the data centers through a campus network. There are in Oslo hundreds of different locations, and the campus networks allows for full redundancy and scales up to 10 gigabits per second for each location. So the key point there is capacity should not be an issue for any new solution. We're also connected to Norsk Helsenett and the service or software as a service providers located there, as well as some national common components for identification or different registries, etc. We're now also turning up services in various cloud platforms, where we're setting up dedicated access from these cloud environments directly into our data centers, which provide for a more tightly integrated service between applications that are realized in these environments as opposed to traditional services that are located on the internet. So in these environments, you as a vendor may be able to get a dedicated area where you develop your services and provide services that can utilize data within the data center that normally wouldn't be exposed to the internet. And of course, we also have regular services on the internet, and also national common components that are available across the internet. So basically, this is a platform that's available to you as a vendor, and the challenge to you is how do we best utilize this platform to provide the best possible services. Of course, there are some limitations to what kind of data and what kind of processing can be done where. So open on the internet, we might not want to process certain kind of information, but that's really up to you to provide us feedback on how you see that we can utilize this with your systems or a combination of systems. So that's basically the playground. But of course, we've limited this to some extent by introducing some security principles, and we'll get into those in a little bit. The architecture of the platform is based on the DeFi principles that I'm assuming most are familiar with. If not, they're available at this link. We've taken these principles, primarily the ones that touch upon security issues, and derived our own principles specifically for security. There are quite a few of them, but I'll go into the three most important that is relevant at the phase we're at right now. The first one being security governance. As we move more and more services to the cloud, it becomes more and more important to be able to document your ability to control the environment, have control over the data, the users, etc. So it's an expectation from us that you have a structured approach, that you follow some kind of framework to make sure that you cover all your bases when it comes to security. Also to think layered security, that one single process or function is not the only border between us and a hacker or an incident that would expose data, but that it's a thought through the entire process as well as the systems you deliver, that security is key. Starting with the people, that the people that are developing these systems and the people that are involved with operations are aware of the kind of data they're handling, that they may come across, that they know how to handle any breaches, and etc. That the systems have the necessary functions to limit access to a need basis, that only people that need access actually get access to the application, the data, etc., and that the data itself is secured. There we go. And of course, any subcontractors you work with or use also need to follow, if not the same framework or the same standards, they're also, you need to be able to demonstrate that they have the ability to take care of the security issues. When it comes to identity, our goal is one identity for each employee that provides a good user experience for the employees when they need to move between different systems. Ideally, we'll have a seamless sign-on, so at least in the right environment, they can easily move between systems without having to log on. From an operations or management perspective, central administration is key. In the event that a user is compromised or an employee leaves the municipality, we want to be able to easily remove their access across all solutions in the platform to make sure that we don't have to go through every single system and kick them out. Also, that the access is role-based, so that we don't have to set up access for John and Jane. If they have the same role, they automatically get the same permissions. When they change roles, their permissions are revoked accordingly. And last, information ownership and accessibility. It's key to the city that regardless of where the data is located, It's owned by the city. It's accessible so that we can use that data in any way that we see fit. As things evolve, our needs change, and we'd like to be able to have third-party developers access the data and produce new ways of using that data to provide the good services that citizens need and the employees need. That's the platform, and again, the challenge to you is how do we best utilize this? How do you see that your solutions fit into this? And if you see anything that's missing or anything, we'd like to hear from you in the feedback process so that we can set the right requirements for the procurement process. Thank you.
I'm still going to do this session very short and quickly. I'm just going to introduce you to the next speaker, but I'm just going to remind you again, I have something written here, and that might be future. So for the future, I just want to invite Tor and Annelise. Please join on stage, and stage yours. Thank you.
On the stage, you have now Annelise Katle, which is project manager for Oslo Municipality, and myself, Tor Helland, which is project manager for the Bergen project. We will say a few words about the process ahead of us, and as we have given you some magic, we hope you can give us some magic back when it's time for you. As mentioned earlier, we have 2 projects, but we have very much the same challenge. We face the same challenge. And we have the same user groups to satisfy. And that's why we saw early in this process that there was a reason for us to work together. And as we also have cooperation with the Directorate of e-Health, we have shared thoughts and ideas, and that's a good thing. And I think it's one of the first projects in this environment where we started out together. I hope we can find each other all the way through. I want to use this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Oslo Municipality for facilitating this event on behalf of both projects. This venue is a kickoff for the dialogue phase. We will share some information from this meeting and the upcoming one-to-one meetings to improve our procurement documents and further detail out our specifications. We assume that the dialogue phase and preparations for procurement will be carried out during first quarter next year. And then we will have the request for quotation in the second quarter next year. This is ambitious, we know, but it's a plan. Annelise?
So, as Tor says, we have already started working on our requirement specifications. My project team that is sitting in this area here, can you just raise up? We want to look at you. And Björn. So these guys have been already worked a lot with, and now you can sit down again, on writing these requirements that is based on our user or our primary users' needs. We do interviews with Jon's people and all the other that you've already been that has been mentioned. It's a complex system because there are so many different needs. We have spent a lot of time on this and we will continue. But now we are eager to listen to you guys, because there are things that we don't know so much about, or we know that you know more about, and that is the more of the technical parts of it. So we have sent you some questions for today, because afterwards we're going to have this speed dates with some of you, and we're looking forward to that. You can spend those 12 minutes. We've given you 15. We start you at every 15 minutes. There's going to be some in and out, so you will have like 12 minutes. You can spend those 12 minutes talking about whatever you want to do, okay? You can ask us questions if you want, or whatever. We have given you some topics, just to give you an idea of what we think about. That's why we sent that out to you. If you think that we are asking for the wrong thing, that we don't know what we don't know, then that's perfect. But we want to have your help on writing a specification. We guess you are the experts in trying to understand good specifications and bad specifications. Hopefully more the good than the bad, but the bad ones we want to avoid. We hate the situation when we don't want that atmosphere, when we realize that we've asked for the wrong thing in the wrong way and we can't evaluate, we have all these long discussions afterwards when we start to really dislike each other. We don't want to have that. So we want your input. Tell us, how shall we ask? So that we can do a good evaluation process afterwards, and that we can choose the vendor that we're going to live together with in a long time. Happy. Number 2, we're going to have some decisions. We're going to take some decisions. Some of them are related to what Björn said. Are we going for cloud services or not? Local services or whatever. We don't even know them yet, what kind of decisions. Help us on that. Give us some input. Be creative. Whatever. We are not here to evaluate today. We are not evaluating you today. We just want all the input we can have. Help us with that. And then the future. We have talked about future previous today. Well, the building that has been mentioned is planned for, is it 50 years? I think we have, I think Halvor has in his figures is that we need to build a building that's going to stay there perfect for 50 years. Well, the only thing we know about IT systems in 50 years' time is that we don't know anything. Okay, so 5 or 10 years, that's extremely long perspective. Tell us about that. What do you think? What about artificial intelligence? Are we going to use it or not? Or what other things are there that we don't know about? Those are the things that we want to hear more about afterwards in this session, in this room. And then we will, that will be a closed session. So there will only be people from Oslo Municipality and Bergen and the e-health directorate and one of you at the time. So I want now just to say thank you very much for attending this conference, for being here with us. Those of you that are not, we not see afterwards, we'll hopefully see you again later. And for the others, looking forward to see you after the break. Thank you.
Could we also I would like to remind you about the opportunity to give a written feedback. We have asked for it in the announcement of this meeting. And the deadline for the feedback is 9th of November. Is that correct? Yeah. So use that opportunity as well to tell us what to do. Thank you.
Are we in the future now? As you spoke 2 hours ago or 1 hour ago, that what we're going to say now might be the future. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but one of you said 2020. Who said 2020? I think he's gone, probably disappeared like this. Berlin, who said Berlin? Really? Oh, here we have Berlin, right? And you said $1,500 US. You said, right? A dream you dream alone is just a dream. A dream you dream together is a reality. See, before I came here today, I was almost sure. So that's why I wrote 2020 in Berlin in $1,499 US. So the future is here. Thank you for me. Thank you for having me. See you. I'm going to join you guys in the mingle around and show you some close-up magic if you have time. So thank you again. Have a nice day.